Hey y'all, I'm Lily O'Reilly. This is Lily O'Reilly Reviews, and today we're here to talk about Menstrual Cups 101. So let's get to it, huh? Okay, so today we're going to talk about Menstrual Cups 101. If you or someone you love menstruates, this is absolutely a video for you. Cool? Cool. So what is a menstrual cup? There are many kinds, but this is one. It is a reusable silicone cup that is inserted into the vagina to catch fluids during one's period. Now, this works a lot like, sorry, I threw this in my bag to bring it over, so of course it has, for once, not pussy dust, it has dog hair. But it basically works a lot like a tampon. However, instead of being absorbent and sucking the natural moisture out of a vagina, it is just a catch-all for the fluid to, chill out in there until you take it out, dump it out, wash it out, and either sterilize it for next period or put it back in for the next round. My cup, and I have a Diva Cup, can hold up to a ½ ounce of fluid, which takes you up to this lower ring right there where my finger is. But before we get into the specifics of the cup, I want to give you a little bit of history because these things are super cool. So menstrual cups have been around for a hot minute. They were first invented, we think, in about 1867. They were patented for the first time in 1932 by a midwifery group. In 1937, they were commercially patented by an American actress, Lena Chalmers. And this is actually super cool because, actresses patent a lot of really cool shit. Actresses generally are more than just a pretty face. And around 1937, a bunch of other patents popped up, basically between 37 and 39, of other people going, we should all make something kind of like this because reasons. So, what are the benefits? I'm going to hit that real quick and then I'm going to run through a bunch of FAQs and then we'll figure this out. Benefits. This is made, all of them are made, of body-safe silicone, which means very low risk of toxic shock syndrome. They don't absorb fluids from your body, causing dryness. You can put them in before your period. You can leave them in an extra day, empty it and put it back in and let it hang out for an extra day if your periods are iffy. My periods, sometimes they show up a couple days early. Sometimes I spot for an extra day or two. And if you don't want to wear pads or panty liners on those iffy days, you just pop this thing up in there and at the end of the day you pull it out and you're like, oh, no blood. Rinse it out, put it back in. Maybe tomorrow will bleed. And there's no risk to you because it's body safe. It can hang out in there. You could wear this thing every damn day if you really wanted to, as long as you cleaned it properly. It wouldn't hurt you. Which is a far cry from a tampon, which you have to change every 4 hours, or there's a non-zero chance that it'll try to kill you. I think it's a benefit. Additionally, unless you shell out decent money to get unbleached products, pads, tampons have a tendency to be made with bleached fibers. And putting bleach near your mucous membranes, the lips, not great because those areas of your body are able to absorb things. And I'm not going to get into that whole, you need to have a detox tea. We're not talking about toxins, ooh-woo. But we are talking about the fact that you don't want to put bleach on your inner labia. Now, I'm not saying everyone who uses bleached products, and bleached just means super white, not everyone's going to have a bad reaction. But if you do, that is not the place that you want to be having a reaction. Not to mention tampons, pads, especially pads. You put it on and you just feel like that fat ass hippo from Madagascar. You feel like you got the whole waddle going on. Or at least I always felt like I did. I hated that feeling of having the pad butt. It's just, But the trade-off is, okay, well then I'll wear a tampon. And it's you gotta keep an eye on them. They don't really warn you if they're gonna start leaking. They you know, they can try to kill you. That's a pretty significant detriment in my book. But these are cool because they can last 5 or more years. So any of the menstrual cups, they're all made of silicone. The FDA says about every 5 years you need to chuck it out and get a new one. I got my first menstrual cup when I was 18. I still have it. I still use it. This is my backup cup because so I was on an arm implant, hormone, birth control, yes, Nexplanon, which meant I didn't have any periods for like 5 years. And during that time, I misplaced my original Diva Cup because, you know, I wasn't using it. So when I started having periods again, I panicked, couldn't find it, went out and bought a new one. So this is what like a 3 or 4 cycle Diva Cup looks like. In comparison, this thing is not young. And what you do with it is, and this is not unclean. At the end of every cycle, I clean it before I put it away. I think the iron in the blood just over time discolors it. It doesn't mean in any way that it's an unacceptable cup to use. They say to throw them away every 5 years. I say that if you boil it and keep an eye on it, just watch for degradation. I can tell from feeling them that my older one is smoother. The silicone is less textured. On the inside, it's maybe a little tiny bit tackier than the new one. It's getting close to the end of its life. I'd say it's probably got another 5 years before I really worry about it. But yeah, they both hold 15 milliliters, ½ ounce, which is great if you're trying to track how much you're bleeding. So I'm going to put my majestic, beautifully browned, antiqued Diva Cup off to one side. There we go. So, mind you, these things can last. Minimum 5 years, maybe closer to 10, I don't know. In order to clean them at the end of your cycle, you can just boil them for 3 minutes, the same that you do with like a sex toy to get it clean. And then I keep mine, honestly, I keep mine in the medicine drawer, but I shouldn't. You can keep them in like a little fabric bag or a drawstring pouch or a Ziploc bag or whatever. Just make sure it gets some airflow and just put it away until the next time you need it. One of the things I love about this is I always have one of these in my travel bag. It just hangs out right along with my makeup and my body wash and all that stuff. I keep one of these in a fabric bag in there because there's nothing worse than being on vacation or going somewhere for a work trip and you forget that your period's going to start. And then you are in a strange ass city. Sometimes you haven't rented a car. You're wandering around downtown trying to find a CVS, trying not to bleed through your pants, trying to go buy all your shit. It's the worst. It's so much nicer to just wake up and be like, there's a Rorschach in my sheets. Let's put the cup in that's in my bag. One of the other things I really love about these, they're gender neutral. Like, yeah, it's a Diva Cup, and some of them get kind of moonish. There's like a Lena Cup and whatever, but this does not scream, I am female. This is a blood collection unit. It doesn't trigger my dysphoria. Now the cramps, the cramps are another story, but just the cup itself, it doesn't, I don't know, like it doesn't bother me. And especially if maybe you don't want to have... Okay, we're going to time out here. Cis dudes, if y'all are watching this, trans dudes, although y'all are generally a lot better than this, keep some goddamn menstrual products in your house. Like, just buy a pack of tampons and a thing of moderate weight pads and shove them under your sink. Because I was at one of my friend's house like a month ago. We were rebuilding my PC. I started my period. I did not have my cup with me because the goddamn period wasn't supposed to start for another week, but it just went surprise. And so, like, I'm trying to figure out how to ask my very nice divorced friend, do you have anything I can use to stop the flow? And he's just like, no, but I could go get you some. It's just like, I I'm not bleeding that bad. It was just bad enough that, you know, a pad would have been nice, but I'll probably leave and go home before I bleed through my jeans. It's whatever. Just keep something. For those of us that forget these or don't have these, it's a really nice courtesy. It's really nice. I wish I had known more guys when I was in college that would just like, there was one frat and we all liked hanging out at their place because in one of the bathrooms that like visitors were allowed to use, they just had a little goldfish bowl full of like those individually wrapped OB tampons. They're not amazing. I don't love them, but it'll get you back across campus to your dorm if you needed to. Anyway, hiatus over. Dudes, keep some menstrual products. Back to those of us that bleed. So, what do these things cost? It's got to be at least $60, $70, right? So at the end of this, I'm going to recommend 4 different kinds. They all range between like $25 and $30 roughly on Amazon. You can order them from their sites. I'm 90% sure you can find a Diva Cup in a Whole Foods. I'm pretty certain I got this one in a Whole Foods, or it might have been a CVS. They're becoming a lot more common. You can find them in like natural food stores because they're eco-friendly. You won't find them as often in the menstrual section. You'll find them like where the organic tampons are. And you will find them occasionally in like Rite Aids and CVS's and stuff, which is super cool. But anyway, $25 to $30. And I sat down and I did the math on this earlier to figure out like how long it takes to recoup the cost. So we're going to assume that you got one of the more expensive ones and it's like $30. Now, a box of 36 value tampons is $7 at Walmart. That's about standard. And that means that in order to add up to $30, you would need roughly 4 boxes or 144 tampons. So once you've used 144 tampons, you've spent the same as you would have spent on one of these. Now, since you have to change a tampon every 4 hours, and you're not supposed to leave tampons in overnight, so I actually didn't add in the cost of like the 3 to 5 pads per period. I'm also running this off the assumption that you have like a 5-day period. I've known people that have 9 days. Mine's generally like 4. Like there's variance. Vaginas are finicky. We do what we can. But we're assuming like a 5-day period. So you got to run through 144 tampons to make it worth it. You change tampons every 4 hours, so we're going to roughly assume that it's like 6 tampons a day. So in 24 days, you'd run through 144 tampons, which I think, if I math correctly, is like 4 periods. So in a third of a year, this thing starts saving you money. Okay? If we're going to do pads, a pack of 15 pads, and they're like pads, not like overnight pads. $4 at Walmart. Okay, so in order to get to $30, I would need 6 packs of pads, which would be 90 pads. Now, in order to burn through 90 pads, you're supposed to also change them about 4 hours, which is 6 pads a day. I don't know anybody that changed theirs every 4 hours, though. Like, I always would try to stretch it and be like, 5's fine, but then, pads always wigged me out because I get ick about my periods. I don't like the blood. I don't like smelling the blood or seeing the blood or not shaming people who use them. It's a me problem. It really is. But, so we're assuming 6 pads a day, roughly, because it's supposed to be an every 4-hour change. So in order to run through 90 pads at 6 pads a day, it's like 15 days, which is like 3 or 4 periods. Again, so in roughly a quarter-ish, a third of a year, this thing starts saving you money. It makes sense to do it. Also, if you're giving out packages to the homeless, I really wish there was an easier way to connect homeless women with Diva Cups or some kind of menstrual cup, because it would make it so much easier to menstruate on the street if you didn't have to tampon. Yeah, that's a thought for later. Anyway, let's talk about some FAQ notes, basically. Like, can I have sex with one of these in? Yes and no. So what I'm using is called a Diva Cup. I have a cervix that sits fairly high up in my vagina. I have a decently long vagina-ish. And this is one of the longer menstrual cups out there. So when it's in there, I can reach probably almost to my second knuckle, and then I'm touching like the stem at the bottom, which is good for when you're trying to get it out. I have successfully had sex with one of these in. I had a boyfriend that I was dating, and he was on the slimmer side, and he could fuck around it, and it wasn't a big problem. The downside is, with the stem at the end, you always kind of ran the risk of like shanking them in the urethra, which isn't great. It's not great. There are some that have different styles of stems, like little balls instead of a hollow tube. Those might not be quite so terrible. Generally, though, if you want to fuck on your period, I would get something like a soft cup. It's a soft ring with like a pouch that you put up and open around your cervix, and it just kind of hangs out up there and collects the blood. And then when you're done, you kind of grab it and it out, and then you just throw the whole thing away. Yeah. I generally would recommend taking them out to have sex. It is not a contraceptive device. It does not work like a diaphragm. Do not trust it in that capacity. This is solely for catching blood. Cool. Are you a virgin if you use one? Can virgins use these? All right, we've discussed this before. Virginity is a bunk concept, and it's bullshit. Will one of these rupture your hymen? I mean, like, if you've got, like, a tight fucking hymen, you might not be able to get it in. So, but it's not sex. So if virginity equals sex to you, and you're worried that this will de-virgin you, it won't. It's not a person. You're not fucking it. It's just hanging out in there and doing its job. Can you use this with an IUD? For those of you who don't know, an IUD is a little T-shaped thing that they jam up through your cervix that just hangs out up there, making pregnancy unlikely. And it's got wiggly antennas that remind me of a silverfish that hang out the bottom. Problem. Your wires curl up inside of your cup. If you are not careful and you the cup out without breaking suction, it can pull on your IUD. The key here. Ow, I crossed my legs and I shouldn't have because now my foot's asleep. All right, so the key here. When this is inside you, when you're ready to take it out, slide a finger up, get it by the base and kind of tug it down, and then hook your finger up and push in. Push in on the edge of the lip to break the suction, and it'll kind of go, and then you just pull it down. Pull it straight down. It'll be full of blood, and you go, meh. You pour it out and rinse it out and put it back in. No problem. If you're worried about it, don't use it with an IUD. I've known people who have used them successfully with IUDs. You just have to break suction and then remove it. And if you're slow and deliberate, you should feel if it starts to tug. Can you take a poo with this in? Yes. It's a different hole. You can take a poo with it in. It is, to me personally, I don't find it comfortable, but it's also like if I'm on the pot, I might as well take that moment to take it out, empty it out, rinse it out, put it back in. And then I just take it out and I like let it chill on the sink while I do all the rest of it. And then before I put my clothes back on, I put it back in. Problem solved. But yes, can be done. It depends on your personal comfort level. Sometimes while you are taking a poo, as you're bearing down, it will push it further down toward the opening. If that happens, just grab it by the bottom and while kegeling down, push it up. And then when you release the kegel, it'll usually pull it back up and into the proper position. Okay, what happens if you have a heavy flow? This thing holds 1/2 ounce. Do with that as you will. What I always just did was you learn your own body. I tend to not have super heavy flows. I change mine once or twice a day. Generally, it's like I'll empty it before bed, empty it in the morning, and empty it in like the afternoon if I remember. If it gets too full, it can leak. That is annoying. Then there's blood everywhere. However, it's rare. Like, unless you're a super heavy flow, like you go through multiple heavy absorbency tampons, this shouldn't be a problem. If you are going through those many tampons, please, for the love of God, go see your gynecologist. That level of bleeding is not normal, and you should definitely get it checked just to see if, like, there's something we can do to make you bleed a little less. Because a lot of people get told that a lot of shit is normal, and it's not. Also, debilitating cramps. If everything hurts to the point where you're throwing up, or you're miserable, or you can't get out of bed, get that checked. It's not normal. Like, a little bit of cramping is normal. I have a couple days of, oh God punted me in the stomach and I hate it, but if it's bad, go to a doctor. And if they don't take you seriously, fucking go to another one. I know it's a privilege not everybody has, but if you can, do, because it gets better. Leaking. Cramps. Cramps, yes. Do menstrual cups make cramping worse? Yes and no. For me, it was a spectrum. Tampons were the worst. They made my cramping so bad. Something about the absorbency and the stickiness, and then when you went to pull them out, how it always kind of felt like it was clinging to the inner walls of your vagina desperately. That always made it bad. These are kind of the mid-range. Like, I cramp. Like, when I get it up in there and you feel it open up and there's pressure, yeah, I cramp a little more. But I cramp more with these than I do with pads, but less than tampons. I hate pads. I'll take a little cramping to not have to deal with a blood log. Again, no shade. This is me and I don't like it. Can you use it if you have a tilted uterus? Talk to your doctor. Different uteruses are different variances of tilted. Girl I know very well. She uses one. Hers is a little canted, but I'm sure there are some where they're like, I don't know uteruses. If it's tilted in a way that makes it not possible, then no. I don't know. You might be able to. I don't know. Don't know. Don't have answers on that one. How do you put it in and take it out? I've got answers. The keys are lube and folding. So, for folding, there are two main ways to fold it. I generally use a tuck fold, which means you take this, you fold it in, you pinch it, and then you kind of hold it down here and insert it like this. And then once you get it in, you let go and it pops open and into place, which lets it attain a seal. If you put it in and it's not quite popping out like it should, which it does, put your finger up in here and you can just kind of like roll your finger around it repeatedly until it gets its shit together and it pops open, or you get tired, you pull it out and try again. There's also a full fold, which is, and I'm bad at this one, you tuck it all the way down so that it's flat and then you kind of C-curve it. And you can put it in like that as well. Same thing, you just insert it and it opens into position. Play around with it. You'll find the insertion method that works the best for you. How do you insert it? I just inserted it like I always did a tampon. Honestly, most of the time I just kind of roll back on the toilet. Sometimes I'll pop a foot all the way up so I can get access. If you're having trouble with that, you can always do like an Asian squat, a flat-footed squat on the floor, and that'll help get access. That's about it. Any position that works for a tampon should work for one of these. Lube. If you are already a little bloody or a little wet, generally you can just fold it and pop it right in and it's not a big deal. I will admit that sometimes I make the mistake of like, I'll do the whole bathroom thing, I wipe everything down, and then I go to put it in, I'm like, I wiped all the lube away. And it's just like, fuck. I know I say don't use spit as lube. Don't use spit as lube for sex. I will absolutely just grab this thing and be like, huh? And like just lick this bit and then pop it in. But I've also been using one for, god damn, almost a decade, and I'm so used to it that it has never been a problem for me in almost 10 years of licking it and putting it in. It's whatever. But if it bothers you, they make little packets of lube. Carry those. I don't know. Public bathrooms. You got some options. Either go to one of the big accessible stalls that has a sink. You can take it out, reach it over to the sink, rinse it out, shake it off, put it back in. Perfect. Option 2, I hate doing this one, but I have done it in the past. You take it out, you pat everything off, you pull everything up, and then you do some variant on, bloody, coming through, excuse me, don't look if you're sensitive, and you hopple-flop it out and wash it in the sink, and then hopple-flop it back and put it back in. Now, I'm going to own up to something that some people are going to be super squicked by, but a method I use when I'm out in public, and it has to be changed, and this comes from the fact that when I got my VCH, my genital piercing done, one of the things they told me in terms of how to help the piercing heal was to pee in a shot glass, flip it up, soak the piercing in the urine. I don't know why. It was a thing I was told to do. I will admit that sometimes if I'm taking my cup out and it's bloody and I don't want to get up and do the sink shuffle, and I don't like rubbing it down with toilet paper because I feel like you get little futzy toilet paperies on it. But you can just pull it out, pour it out, and then like hold it down and pee on it, and then like shake it off really, really well so there's almost no urine on it. And then if you really want to, take some toilet paper and pat it off before you put it back in. A lot of guides will also tell you just pour it out and then take some toilet paper around the inside to clean it out before you put it back in. Whatever. You'll find the method that works best for you. They're a little unwieldy in public restrooms, but I think it's worth it in terms of the trade-off, because especially like if you work somewhere that's got single gender restrooms, unisex. The restrooms that are just one big room, I never know what to call them. The privacy restrooms, that's what they are. The poobicles. I might cut that out. That was terrible. I can't be trusted. Yeah. I think that's all of the FAQ points that I've hit, that I can think of to hit. Yeah. So I'm going to give you some recommendations, and then I have a wee giveaway. A wee one, though. So I'm going to link in the description to an NY Times article, New York Times article, that runs down a bunch of different menstrual cups, because when I did my research, I was 18. It was a smidge ago. Options have changed. Back then, Diva Cup was like the thing. I was on LiveJournal doing menstrual cup comparisons to figure out which one was most usable. Like, you know? But nowadays, we've got actual journalistic places doing it. They recommend the Diva Cup is good for high cervixes. There's one called the MeLuna Shorty that is like, it's itty bitty, but it's so cute. It's good if you have a low cervix. How do you know if yours is high or low? When you're unaroused, pop a couple fingers in there. If you immediately run into a cervix, it's low. If you gotta like put some finger in there to get to it, or you can't reach it, it's high. There's one called a Cora Cup that I've never heard of, but they swear it's super beginner friendly. It actually looks like a thinner version of a Diva Cup, which makes sense. It's a very easy to handle shape. They say something about how it's easier to grab to remove. Oh, and removing these. Like I said, you just reach up, pinch, pull. How do you get it if it's all the way up there? Like if I get turned on with mine on, it hikes all the way up to the top. That's what the stem at the bottom is for. You grab, and the stem has little like ring ridges. You wiggle your fingers up in there and you tug it down centimeter by centimeter until you can get a hold of it. And then yeah, it's a process. You figure it out. But yes, the Cora Cup is very beginner friendly, apparently. I've never heard of it. And then there's one called the Lena, L-E-N-A Cup, that is good for people with wider vaginas. If you are of the broad variety, like you have issues with leaking around cups like this, the Lena Cup is a better fit just because it opens a bit wider. Different cups will generally come in different sizes. Like the Diva Cup has one for a pre and a post childbirth because the size, I don't know what it is. They say that the size is different, but I've met people with no kids that like the post birthing one. I personally use the pre-birth one because even this tends to feel pressury when I'm bloated and perioding. Just make sure you check out what sizes are offered before you make your decision. And honestly, if you get it wrong, it's $30. It's not the end of the world if you've got to maybe get one or two over the course of a couple years to figure it out, because over the long haul, you're still going to be saving money. Cool. Now, you've seen my small, adorable cups, the old and the new. I'm really amazed at the change in color. Like, that's very gratifying. Oh, the one thing you do have to do when you're cleaning. So if you can see, you might be able to see better on this one. Up at the rim, there are, see those darker dots? Yeah, those are air vents. So when you're cleaning it, like at the end, put water in it, flip it over and squish it a little, and it'll force water out through those vent holes to clear out any blood that might be in there that'll block suction. But yes, now I have a giveaway that is a thing. Hang on, where'd I put them? Ah, yes. So I have a pair of fun cups. They're menstrual cups. They are from the Fun Factory, I think, line. Yes, which is a German company. This is what's called an Explore Kit. It's a size A and a size B, so a small and a large, and you get a Tyvek carrying bag. It also comes with a quite impressive booklet on menstrual cups, their use, and a bunch of like FAQ stuff. And if you would like one, I will happily mail it to anywhere in the US. I'm sorry, I would love to make this available for people outside the US, but currently USPS and shipping internationally is, it's a whole thing. It really is. So anywhere in the US, if you would like to comment, Shark Week, all one word. I'll put it down here. Spell it just like I spell it. Shark Week, all one word, no space. I will, at the end of February 2021, pick somebody, contact them, mail this out. Because I don't need them. I've got two. It's not a style that works for me. It's fine. So, we have my cups. We have the fun cups. Like, this is not a bad video. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. Now, if this has been helpful for you and you want to scoop me like $3, ko-fi.com/Lily O'Reilly. And overall, I just really hope this has been helpful because menstrual cups are such a massive game changer in terms of sustainability, waste reduction, reducing the amount of chemicals we put into our body, and generally just making periods easier, less dysphoric, and just less shitty. So share this with somebody that you know that has periods. Maybe they'll find it helpful. I just want to help people. That's it. That's all I want. And if you share it with them before the end of February, you know, they could get their own fancy set. But that's what I got. I will put links to everything relevant in the comments, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.